They started killing the cows
Yeah, they would go.
in order to feed your people.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was the people that moved in. They had all the cows. We had sheep. So anyway, he got arrested for cattle rustling. Him and two of his friends got arrested for cattle rustling. They went to state prison, and then things really got hard then. So I was kind of like a street urchin. We lived in a little town called Walsenburg, and I was just hustling all the time to help my mom make ends meet. Because my dad was a Navy veteran, but when he went to prison, they took all his benefits away from him while he was in prison, so we had no income. And there was no welfare and no nothing like that in those days, so you had to make do. So I was selling newspapers and doing little odd jobs when I was about 8 years old. And I got a job cleaning out a little bar. After the bars closed, I'd go in there and mop the floors, clean it all up. The lady would give me all her spare change, so I'd bring in $10, $12 a day. Back in the 50s, it was enough to keep us all going. Like we had a big family, there's 9 of us in the family. Yeah, so that was, but the thing about being on the street, you learn a lot of bad things too, because you're always on the street. And I started hanging with a few guys that were not choice partners, I guess, that you would have, but just peers that were also on the street doing the same thing I was doing pretty much. We all got together and just kind of hung around and did different things. And anyway, we were going to, my mom had put me in a Catholic school in Walsenburg when I was in the 6th grade. And they had, this is like, I don't know, maybe, can't even remember what year it was now, but they had a priest that was a molester there. And that was when they first started to do all the, what they call sex education in the schools. The nuns would teach the girls and the priests would teach the boys. But you didn't know what molestation was. And, all of us knew it wasn't good. So there was 4 of us, 5 of us, and we hang around together all the time. And we'd do homework and, go out there and shovel lawns, just making bucks for the families. Anyway, one of the kids got molested also. They all got molested by the priest. We didn't even know what molestation was. But we know it wasn't good. But one of the kids couldn't live with me, committed suicide. So.
At the age of 8?
Yeah. And so we retaliated. The only way we knew how. So we attempted to burn the parish house down. We burned part of it down, but we weren't successful. But anyway, they arrested us and they sent us to Colorado State Industrial School for Boys.
What is that?
That's a mini reform school.
For any boys or just for Native Americans?
Truants, whatever what they call the truant or a lawbreaker, anything you did like.
So it was like a home for juvenile lawbreakers.
Yeah, and they had them staggered. So that Golden, Colorado is where the State Industrial School is at. And all those kids that went there, they used to get farmed out to different places like Coors Brewery and all that stuff to clean out their vats and stuff. And they'd pay them minimum wages, and these vats, there's a lot of fumes in there. So they would farm the kids out. And it was kind of like a pre-labor for the institution, And so I stayed there longer than I should have, and it was a bad place to be. And,
did they give you any education?
No.
So they just used you as labor?
Yeah. As soon as they found out I could read and write, they said, "Well, you don't need more. That's good enough. You can, So I never got any education there at all. So I stayed there until about a year. I went back, and I should have went back to that same town, but I went back to the same town. My dad had got out of jail. I got in trouble again, and this time because I had given him such a hard time while I was at the institution, because they couldn't keep me there very long. As soon as they turned their head, I was gone.
You ran away?
Oh man, they actually nicknamed me Rabbit. That's what they had on. They call it jacket. That's what has all the information in it. That's what they call it. I used to call it a jacket. It's a folder with all your information. But anyway, inside that jacket, on the top, it had Rabbit. And I said, who's Rabbit? And they said, you. And I said, what do you mean I ain't Rabbit? And they said, yeah, you run on it all the time, you know. So that's for a little bit on that folder. But anyway, so on the second go around, the judge attempted to send me back over there, and the institution there told him, we don't want him here. He's too much trouble, you know, you can't send him back here. So they tried another institution. I was too young there, so their alternative was to give me a state leave.
A state what?
Leave.
Oh, what's that?
You have to leave the state for a whole year.
You have to leave the state?
I had to leave this. I couldn't be in Colorado for a whole year.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. A lot of people probably didn't, but that was one of their things.
How old were you then?
I was 13.
And you had to go alone?
No, I went with my father. He was out of prison then.
Oh.
So we went. What we did, there was because there wasn't that much kind of any kind of work for most of the natives. A lot of them were sheep shearers. They go out and shear sheep. So every year, every probably about, I don't know, maybe late April, we take off. You know, so that year we all took off and we went up to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. We had to go to a lot of places. Sheared a lot of sheep. I didn't shear a lot of sheep. I was the guy that ran them into corrals, and then the guys that they threw. They had huge barrels. They'd cut the wool off and you bundle it up and tie it. And there's sacks, like huge sacks, probably, I don't know, maybe 1,000-pound sacks. It seemed like, anyway. But they were high, and they'd throw me inside the sack to jump up and down, pack the wool, you know. So.
Wow. Okay.
I was a wool packer. Anyway, that was the worst job you can get because at the end of the day, you was full of ticks, you know. And I mean, man, I found out what ticks were, you know. Found out how you get them out and all that bit real quick. But that was the situation over there, and I said, wow, man, that's going to be a hard way to make a living like that. But that's what I did for that whole year. And then we came back to town. Same situation. Got together with a bunch of guys, and one of them had a gun. Some other stuff happened, and I wasn't even part of it. But because I was with them at a time before, they said, "Why you're running with them, and you're not supposed to be running with them." So they violated my parole. And this time I went to the reform school in Buena Vista.
What's a reform school?
It's for 16 and over.
Also,
juvenile delinquents. It's like
but for everyone.
still juvenile detention.
I see.
Up to, you stay from 16 to 18 there. So I was there, and during that period, I was still getting in trouble, but I started figuring out different angles where I can get off. You know, I'd go do stuff here and there, and I'd find out which jobs had opportunities to leave the hill for a little while, and that way, you know, you go out. So I joined a boxing club on the reform school, and they would go out and box in different places all over Colorado. They had what they called smokers. That's a bar, and they called them smokers because all these guys were in there smoking cigars, and you could see nothing in there. But they'd make a makeshift ring in the middle of the bar, and they'd hire us youngsters to go in and beat the shit out of each other. Excuse me.
No, that's fine.
But that's what it was, you know.
So
And,
even in this reform school, they weren't giving you an education?
Mm-mm.
You were still just being farmed out?
Yeah. For
For display this time?
Yeah, it was for the boxing club, get money. So it was actually a good thing for the institution because guys doing different stuff. And and for me, it was learning self-defense pretty good and take care of myself better than before.
Did you get paid?
Yeah. When we won, if you won, the winner took $5 home and the loser took $2. So you got $2 win or lose, but